You remember the child who got taken out of a fair, unlawfully by the way, okay? Was told by a deputy sheriff to cross the expressway, cross the street, gets hit, and the family is now suing because none of this should have happened. Well, a jury agrees. 15 million has been awarded to the family because their son died due to the actions of a cop. Let me put up the picture of the young man as he was from a graduation photo. We covered this story recently. A Florida jury has now said a Hillsborough County sheriff must pay damages to the parents of a teenager killed outside of a state fair. On September 22nd, 10 members of this jury reached a verdict regarding the premature death of that young man, Andrew Joseph III, a 14-year-old black child who died on February 7th, 2014. Remember, I explained it took them years to get this to court. Why? Because of qualified immunity. They had to overcome that barrier. It took years to do so. When the child tried to cross the Interstate 4 highway after getting removed from the Florida State Fair, the sheriff's office is now being ordered to pay 15 million because it was their fault. It happened. The legal proceedings to bring justice to the family lasted 6 years, and the money will be awarded to the parents. You're looking at them, Andrew Joseph Jr. and Deanna Joseph. Here's background on what happened. The child attended a student day at the fair, a tradition where children can get in for free. Joseph III, the 14-year-old child, was booted from the fair because deputies said he and a few other teenagers were, and I quote, wilding, causing a disturbance, knocking over fair patrons and stealing from vendors. Officials grabbed 2 of his friends before grabbing him. He was caught because he picked up another child's hat after he dropped it while they were running. Once caught, deputies detained and ejected Joseph, an act his parents believe violated his civil rights. Joseph and about 99 teenagers were questioned, photographed, and then driven off from the fair and taken home. The defense said the young man was offered a ride from his football coach, but turned it down. Instead, he opted to cross the highway on his own, hoping to make it over the main gate. He was struck by an SUV before he could make it across the expressway. The plaintiff's team argued authorities should have never placed Joseph in the predicament to decide how to get over. Now remember, in the original reporting, the deputy said clearly to the child, here's what you need to do. The only thing separating you from here to there is this highway. You can cross it. But that's what the child did. The child decided to engage in activity based on the word of this particular authority figure and was killed. A jury has said it is the fault of the police as to why this 14-year-old died. The parents spoke to the press after the verdict. Joseph Jr. said, and I quote, that child didn't do nothing wrong. $15 million, put some respect on it. His mother said, we are elated at this moment. The family said they feel like this verdict was a day of vindication. Remember, this was years ago, and will donate a portion of the money to the Andrew Joseph Foundation. The sheriff's office can appeal the verdict. We do not have word on if the appeal will happen or not. Once again, when I first did this story, so many people pushed back and said, oh, well, this child is 14, it doesn't know how to cross the street. Please understand, there's a cause and effect relationship to why the child is dead. Have a heart, damn it. This child listened to an authority figure, never should have been taken from the fairgrounds. Very questionable as to if the child was even involved in any type of malicious behavior in the first place. But the sheriff's office violated multiple levels of their own protocol. Those systemic failures of enacting policy and protocol led ultimately to the death of this 14-year-old child. That is what the jury concluded. That was my opinion from day one. The reason why we have justice now, some semblance of it, is because a judge decided to set aside this ridiculous notion known as qualified immunity. So what have we learned here? qualified immunity either stops or significantly slows down actual justice. Once this judge eliminated qualified immunity, justice was able to be obtained by this family. All right, Adrienne, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think as you noted, qualified immunity definitely is a barrier to justice for a number of people in our country, in part because law enforcement engages in behavior that, as far as I'm concerned, it's just not reasonable to begin with. But then when you create this kind of faux court-created like form of immunity, then you add another layer to it. And also when you have judges willing to go ahead and give officers the benefit of the doubt. And in this situation, the officer was not deserving of that at all. Again, a young man did exactly what you would expect a teenager to do when you present him with the option of, well, you have to get from point A to point B, you have to cross this. And he did exactly what you would expect a child to do. And so an adult should be held accountable in that situation. It is unfortunate, again, that it will end up being from the pockets of taxpayers as opposed from law enforcement, which is the root, start, and the end of the issue as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there you go. Once again, what's happening here? The cops are defunding the cops. The anti-defund the police people, they're not saying anything. It's okay when the cops defund the cops, but when somebody from Black Lives Matter says we need to reprioritize policing budgets, all of a sudden, those on the conservative right, they have a problem with the verbiage. Interesting.